Welcome to Cut the COVID Crap Part 37, the Ivermectin Together trial analysis. Here's my t-shirt of the week. Hope you like it. Okay, normally I would start out with England, the UK Health Security Agency data, the weekly data, but they haven't produced them this week. Don't know why. Um, they provided some useful information, even though it's the most relevant statistics are not produced anymore. But now nothing at all. Not sure if it's Easter or whatever. Hopefully more next week. Before the main topic, the Ivermectin Together trial, one piece of news I want to recite is about Denmark excess COVID vaccinations. I'll put a link below as usual. Headline: Denmark to destroy 1.1 million excess COVID-19 vaccinations. Danish health officials say that 1.1 million excess COVID-19 vaccinations will be discarded in the coming weeks because their expiration date is near and efforts to donate them to developing countries have failed. You may have heard in the news before, like, oh, the it's unfair that the Western, the first world countries keep the vaccinations for themselves. It's not the case. It's BS. They don't want them in developing countries. They got over COVID already. There's there's a low vaccination rate, but there's also a low COVID rate, infection rate, low death rate. They're they're done. Um, so again, I'll quote the news about Denmark. However, in light of declining demand and lack of rollout capacity and willingness to be vaccinated in developing countries, it has been difficult for Denmark and other EU countries to find recipient countries for these excess doses. It's nothing to do with unfair distribution of vaccinations. It's just governments piling them on, thinking that everybody needs them, and they're not needed anymore. Um, so um, so when you read this news about unfair distribution, you gotta think more critical than just absorbing that. Um, cool. Then yeah, and one more remark about effectiveness. If you read about the standard government message is usually vaccinations are safe and effective. Um, I wonder how effective. I mean, there's a huge difference between effectiveness against Delta and effectiveness against Omicron. I think whenever I read the details about effectiveness, I've only seen effectiveness in a Delta period up till, let's say, December 2021. I haven't seen anything against about effectiveness against Omicron, and that's of course the only relevant one now. Of course, it's relatively new. I mean, it's roughly half a year old, but by now I would have expected that data have come out. So effectiveness against Delta and effectiveness against Omicron. My prediction is that it's going to be completely different. Anyway, this is going to be a short video. The Ivermectin Together trial is something that I wanted to talk about. It's been literally 2 years now. Yeah, 2 years, roughly 2 years ago. The first in Australia, the first uh, positive reports were published about using ivermectin against COVID, which had a huge backlash. Strangely enough, and this was before vaccinations were there. Um, whereas in that period, anything that would work against COVID should have been brought on or at least tested seriously if you think the research is too weak. Um, anyway, it got huge backlash, and we all know about the pushback of ivermectin. And I'm interested to read about it. Even though I'm not a doctor, I cannot judge myself. Don't have the experience myself, but it got so much backlash that it's suspicious, right? I mean, it's the same as like yeah, with government message like yeah, if the government says like vaccination is the only way out, as they did in Australia, yeah, now you don't hear them say that anymore. And clearly, it's not been the only way out. It's been a milder variant that was the way out. Um, and of course, the Australian government says, see, we have a high vaccination rate and hospitalizations are low, deaths are low. Vaccinations worked. Did vaccinations work, or was it Omicron that created a better picture? And yeah, that's why I look at other countries with a low vaccination rate, like Africa, like India. COVID is gone there more, has gone through the population, and yeah, apparently it's not the vaccination. I'm not saying vaccinations don't help, but they help, yeah, a little bit only apparently. Um, Countries with low vaccination rates don't have hugely high death rates. Um, anyway, ivermectin. Um, I'm particularly interested because it got so much official narrative backlash. Um, and I gotta say, Bret Weinstein has done a very good job with an interview with Alexandros Marinos recently. That's published the 3rd of May, 4 days ago. The link below, as usual. It's a YouTube video. It's called Cold Confusion. Alexandros Marinos unpacks the Together trial with Bret. So you know, the Together trial, that was the definitive study of whether ivermectin works or not. They published the outcome of that study half a year ago, something like that. Like they published the outcome saying that ivermectin doesn't work without publishing the study itself. Only the headlines like, okay, we've done the definite study, it doesn't work. And the details of the research were not published until a few weeks ago. So why publish the conclusion first and then only half a year later the actual study? Um, Extremely strange. Um, Now this guy, this Alexandros Marinos, he comments on the on this trial. It's called the Together trial, um, and he does a really good job, I think. And not so much because he's biased. And this is, by the way, a 2-hour video. I mean, it's a lot to go through, but from what I've seen, this is very good analysis. If you're in the same position as me, as most people, if you're not a specialist yourself, what you what I think the best that we can do is look at specialists, doctors or researchers commenting on published research. So any decent research will be published in a journal, like the British Medical Journal, or there's, I don't know, roughly a dozen well-respected journals. Any decent research will be published, and normally also peer-reviewed. And it's good to see what experts have to say on those studies. If they don't make the journal, then they're not good enough anyway. If they do make the journal, there may still be crap in it, but then you'll hear it for the specialist commenting on it. This Alexandros Marinos dissected this, and has a number of comments. I don't find them too biased. I mean, if you look at people commenting on studies, you have to see if they're biased as well. Um, in a lot of his comments, he gives the researchers the benefit of the doubt, but in some cases, he says like, "This is so strange. This is so. Uh, this is You cannot give them the benefit of the doubt anymore." And again, 2-hour interview. It's long to go through, but they got some valid points. I'm not gonna recite it, but yeah, when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's this is not normal. That it's so much. Yeah, how would you call it? That the research itself is so biased, that it's cherry picking. You pick pick the data that support the narrative that you want to emphasize. So you use one set for one test and a different set for different tests, and then lo and behold, you get the support for the result that you wanted. Um, if you're interested, listen to the video itself. I think it's if you want to not understand the technical aspects of like whether ivermectin works or not, but what is done in those, what the weaknesses are of those researches, and if the my conclusion is, that's my own conclusion, if it's so suspicious what they've done, yeah, then apparently there was too much political pressure to make it proper research. So um, apparently they have to hide something. Um, I cannot say. Hence, I would recommend ivermectin, um, and I'm not in a position to recommend anything anyway. But yeah, um, if ivermectin really wouldn't work, they would do proper research and then show it. So yeah, I think, yeah, that it's likely that there's something to it. But yeah, make up your mind yourself. But I found it uh, a very worthwhile 2 hours to watch. So good luck with your own research, and good luck with your voting. Don't forget what the politicians said in the last 2 years. See you next week.